NASA has made a shocking recent statement that has stunned the scientific fraternity as well as the general public. A huge mass, like never before, has been reported traveling through the cosmos in the direction of Earth, which has ushered in frantic activity among astronomers and researchers seeking to understand what this enigmatic celestial body might be and the implications it has for Earth. What do we know about the object? The gigantic object was first detected by NASA's Near-Earth Object Observations Program, which scans the skies for potential threats from asteroids, comets, and other space debris. Preliminary data indicates that the object is not a typical asteroid or comet. Its size and unusual reflective properties suggest something much more mysterious. Measuring over 300 kilometers in diameter, it is much larger than any previously recorded NEO and has been classified as a potentially hazardous object. Why is it unique? This object is quite unusual because of its material and movement. Spectral analysis shows that materials are unlike known asteroids or comets. Scientists speculate it may be a piece of a failed planet, a rogue moon from a distant star system, or even an ancient artifact of unknown origin. In addition, its path is highly unusual. While most objects track well ahead in a predictable orbital motion, based on the gravitational pull exerted by cosmic objects, the motion seems to be under some kind of anomalous acceleration. This has sparked debates on whether it is being further or correspondingly pulled by other forces, such as outgassing or artificial propulsion. How close will it come? Current estimates suggest the object will pass just 2 million kilometers from Earth, or about 5 times the distance to the Moon. Although this distance is safe by astronomical standards, the size of the object is so great that its gravitational pull could significantly impact Earth's atmosphere and tides. In fact, some scientists are even warning of the possibility of satellite systems and space infrastructure being disrupted. The U.S. Space Agency says it will get really close, only 691,000 kilometers from Earth's surface. NASA also tells us it's rushing towards us super fast at 26,006 kilometers per hour. That's way faster than a super speedy missile. This asteroid isn't large enough to be called a potentially dangerous object. To earn that title, a space object needs to be roughly 492 feet wide and come closer to Earth than 7.5 million kilometers. In contrast, asteroid 2023 TG is only about 26 feet wide, which is about the size of a bus. Will it hit Earth? NASA has stated that the object is not on a collision course with Earth according to current calculations. However, these predictions change with more data. Small unknown factors can make a big difference in trajectory and alter its path significantly over time. This asteroid is part of the Apollo group of near-Earth asteroids. These are space rocks that cross Earth's path and have orbits bigger than Earth's. They get their name from the massive 1862 Apollo asteroid, which was found by the German astronomer Karl Reimuth. Back in the 1930s, NASA also shared some information about an asteroid that could hit Earth in 159 years, causing an explosion like 22 atomic bombs. What if it did impact Earth? If an asteroid of this size were to collide with Earth, the consequences would be catastrophic. A collision involving a 370-foot asteroid could generate energy equivalent to millions of tons of TNT, devastating large areas. The impact could obliterate cities, flatten forests, and trigger shock waves capable of destroying infrastructure over vast distances. This highlights the importance of tracking and monitoring such celestial objects. NASA's efforts in monitoring asteroids. NASA's Near-Earth Object Program plays a crucial role in tracking and predicting the paths of thousands of NEOs, including potentially hazardous asteroids like 2022 CE2. With advanced observation tools and predictive models, scientists are able to ensure that any potential risks to Earth are identified and assessed well in advance. Speculations and theories. The unusual nature of the object has fueled rampant speculation. Some experts believe it could be a chunk of dark matter, a theoretical form of matter that doesn't emit light or energy, while others suggest it might be the core of a shattered exoplanet. On the more speculative end, some are even questioning if this could be evidence of extraterrestrial technology, akin to the controversial theory surrounding the interstellar visitor Oumuamua. The asteroid was already entering Earth's atmosphere southwest of Janan Island near the Arctic. The chunk hurtled towards Earth at a speed of 10.6 meters per second, releasing a force of about 4 kilotons of TNT as it exploded in the air. The tremors were felt in Greenland and Norway, and observers in northern Iceland could see a bright flash on the horizon. Defense strategies of NASA. ESA finally, of course, the question remains: what possibilities we humans would have to defend ourselves against an asteroid that would be of destructive size, and whose collision course would be known in time before impact? Who doesn't immediately think of the Armageddon method in the movie of the same name? NASA sent a squad of daring oil drilling experts to blast the asteroid. In fact, there are real plans to do so, but blasting a large asteroid could cause hundreds of small chunks to hurtle uncontrollably towards Earth, or hit other asteroids, putting them on a collision course. Other approaches involve pulling a destructive asteroid out of its orbit via a gravitational shift. This would require a large object such as a space capsule or satellite to come close to the asteroid. The object's gravitational pull could gradually deflect the asteroid from its orbit. However, sufficient lead time is needed for this action. It would take years to pull an asteroid out of its orbit in this way. The fact is, we need to know more about asteroids. In 2014, ESA's Philae spacecraft landed on a comet. For the first time since the mission was a great success, there will likely be more probes flying to asteroids and comets in the future to study them. The DART mission is also an ESA project. DART stands for Double Asteroid Deflection Test. The idea behind it is simple: to launch a space probe at high speed at an asteroid and deflect it from its trajectory. The asteroid Deimos was chosen as the training target. Together with its moon Dimorphos, it orbits the Sun at such a safe distance that no one is endangered by the project. If the DART mission succeeds, this approach could also be used to push a dangerous asteroid from its orbit and protect the Earth. 1, 2, or 3 points. Over the decades, dozens of videos and photographs of light sightings around the moon have accumulated. Sometimes 1, 2, or 3 conspicuous lights can be seen. Even when the moon is brightly lit, objects are sighted that do not appear as bright as light, but are visible as dark spots in front of the moon. Scientists explain the bright lights as the transient lunar phenomena, or TLP reports of unusual light observations. On the moon date back to the 6th century, even in the present day. Scientists have observed lights, colors changes, or even bright darkening that cause temporary changes. In the appearance of the moon, the phenomena have been systematically cataloged since 1958, but no one has yet found an explanation. Despite the extremely strange TLP phenomena, respected scientific circles do not want to know anything about aliens and their activities on the moon, allegedly gases escaping from the moon's interior and reflecting the sun's rays cause phenomena such as the red light we saw at the beginning. Other TLPs glow blue-green or even purple, and everything is said to be completely normal and explainable. TLPs range from small point-like lights to larger glowing areas. Sometimes they appear as short-lived flashes or as subtle changing shades of color on the lunar surface. A real flying saucer. From 1975, it is often rumored that even Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were not completely alone on the moon during their moonwalk at the end of the 1960s, and saw several spaceships observing them. Allegedly, NASA wants to cover everything up. But that's not quite true. This video, which was allegedly recorded by James Irwin, an astronaut on the Apollo 15 mission, was never concealed or covered up. However, nobody wanted to admit that this thing looks an awful lot like a flying saucer. The official line was that the apparent object could also be a reflection of light, but look for yourself at the shadow it cast below it, which clearly shows that the disk-like object is hovering above the surface of the moon. Something very similar can be seen here again. NASA claimed it was a rock, but again, the shadow reveals something hovering in the air. Could these all be coincidences? Probably not. We don't have any hard evidence of aliens on the moon. But we do have some interesting clues in the 1970s. The clairvoyant medium Ingo Swann was asked by the FBI to look at the moon via remote viewing, among other things. Swann saw some highly intelligent aliens mining on the far side of the moon. Fascinatingly, rumors about mining on the moon have been around longer than NASA and modern telescopes somehow centuries ago. People came up with the idea that there were people or men living on the moon who were active there, and later it became stories that this man or men could be responsible for the moon's glow. Swann had to keep quiet about his mission for 10 years, and then only a small dedicated community of UFO researchers and paranormal enthusiasts believed him in the years before his FBI experience. Swann was a respected scientific medium who correctly scanned the atmosphere of Jupiter long before the first probes reached the gas giant. What is happening there? Can you imagine that until 1959, no human had ever seen? The far side of the moon, the Russians sent Luna 3. Once around the moon that year, but kept most of the images for themselves. So, of course, nobody knew what this nation, which was extremely hostile to the United States during the Cold War, had seen. On the far side of the moon, NASA's lunar orbiter, one did not reach the far side of the moon until 1966. And allegedly there was not much to see behind the moon's face that we know apart from a rugged landscape. However, we must also concede that these probes were not able to show details of the lunar surface or recognize aliens. Mined in a crater, this only became possible much later thanks to high-resolution images today. Thanks to Google Moon, even amateurs can scan the moon and turn over every stone. This repeatedly leads to astonishing discoveries, and sometimes areas of the satellite images appear suspiciously blurred, which is why it's assumed that we normal Earthlings are not supposed to see some of the things going on. There is this still normal explaining. Individuals' lights with TLPs may still make some sense, but what are we to make of 3 lights flying in formation when NASA once again declares that everything is completely normal? It's probably trying to pull the lunar wool over our eyes, because there are certainly no light phenomena to be seen here that originate from mysterious outgassing from the moon. If we connect the 3 dots, we always end up with the same shape, a typical and easily recognizable triangle. This shape often appears in connection with UFO sightings on the moon and also on Earth. In this photo, the 3 typical lights are so bright that the shape of the spaceship in the middle is recognizable. These flying objects are regularly noticed and reported almost everywhere on Earth. In 2021, these images from Herefordshire in England attracted attention. In the same year, one of these flying triangles appeared over California, and a year later, a very similar UFO was spotted over Carl's R. Given this frequency of sightings, we must ask ourselves what these flying objects around the Earth and on the moon want. This question divides even the opinions of UFO enthusiasts and PAR researchers. Some believe that the aliens are watching us, and others even assume that extraterrestrial races maintain contact with governments or certain organizations without the normal world population. Noticing much of it, the moon could be a kind of stopover or base for beings who either want to mine raw materials there, as Ingo Swann said, or keep an eye on us Earthlings. In any case, Ingo Swann said that the aliens he had seen on the moon were not friendly towards humans, and like Swann himself, they were mentally gifted. When the aliens realized Swann's presence, they became angry, and the FBI immediately aborted the attempt. Of course, we can ask ourselves how this is supposed to work with humans on the moon in the future. If there are bad-tempered aliens around, on the other hand, although the moon is much smaller than the Earth, it is also big enough to keep out of the way, and we cannot rule out the possibility that NASA, the FBI, or the U.S. government have not made contact with the men on the moon. In the meantime, fiction or reality, who hasn't seen the face of Mars? The Martian pyramids, or human and pyramid-shaped apparitions on the moon, In the vast majority of cases, these objects are so-called parolia. Our brain creates images from inanimate objects such as stones or sand dunes that have something to do with another thing that is familiar to us. We then see shadows of people bones or things and structures that look like buildings. Many of these parolia have now been unmasked, thanks to the latest Mars and Moon probes. Such phenomena have been observed and explained from other angles. So among the many UFO and alien sightings, there are certainly a large number of mistakes, or even fakes. But what about this? This again looks suspiciously like a pseudo-pyramid on the moon. But wait a minute, there are 8 lights arranged in an exact 90-degree triangle, and nature really doesn't produce anything like that. And this can't be an optical illusion either. The picture led to a lot of speculation, and once again the ideas about secret underground alien bases on the moon came to life. Allegedly, there are numerous cavities inside the moon where spaceships, some several hundred m long, are said to be deposited. Strangely enough, even renowned scientists have now found evidence that the moon is hollow inside. This came about because seismographs recorded moonquakes that resonated so strangely, as if the moon was hollow inside. Moonquakes normally occur as very gentle tremors caused by geological processes on the moon. In this case, however, a meteor struck and caused a strong quake that went right through the moon, making the hollow moon phenomenon noticeable for the first time. Psyche, the fascinating metal asteroid. The history of the asteroid Psyche proves that the first discovery of an astronomical object is not always accompanied by a comprehensive decoding of the respective object. We have known of the existence of this cosmic flying body, which orbits in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, since April 17, 1852. At that time, the Italian astronomer Annibale de Gasparis was able to locate the object in the firmament. Psyche was named after the wife of the ancient Greek deity Eros. During its orbit around the Sun, which lasts about 5 years, the asteroid circles our central host star in a distance between 2.5 and 3.3 astronomical units. As you might know by now, an astronomical unit has a value of about 90 million miles, reflecting the approximate average distance between the Sun and the Earth. In terms of its impressive diameter of 150 miles, Psyche is one of the largest objects in the entire asteroid belt. The surface of the celestial body also appears comparatively bright. Psyche has an albedo of 0.2, which means that it reflects 12% of all incident solar radiation before the asteroid has rotated once around its own axis. A little more than 4 hours pass with the help of special radar observations. Researchers succeeded in deciphering the material composition of Psyche. Thus, we now know that the object is probably composed mainly of iron, and experts were puzzled by the fact that no water or water-containing material could be detected on Psyche's surface, a characteristic that is typical for many M-class asteroids. Although recent measurements with the Infrared Telescope facility in Hawaii indicate that small amounts of bound water exist on the surface of the asteroid, it's generally assumed that they arrived on Psyche in the course of collisions with other celestial bodies. Accordingly, all the evidence we have been able to gather so far about this galactic flying projectile indicates that it's a primarily metallic asteroid. In order to finally get a full look at this fascinating object, NASA announced in January 2017 that it would undertake an unmanned mission to the asteroids realm as part of the Discovery program. Current plans call for the spacecraft, also appropriately named Psyche, to leave our home planet next year. From 2026, the spacecraft will then orbit the asteroid for a period of 1.5 years. In the course of this ambitious project, NASA scientists hope to be able to decipher many of the great mysteries that still surround the cosmic object. For example, they hope to find out whether Psyche may be the core of a differentiated planetesimal. What's next? NASA, along with space agencies and observatories internationally, is increasing efforts to look at the object in more detail. The James Webb Space Telescope and all of its complementary ground-based telescopes around the world are being asked to obtain detailed images, as well as additional spectroscopy. Contingency plans in the form of deflection missions or controlled impact scenarios are under review. A good example would be NASA's DART, where an asteroid's trajectory was successfully altered in 2022. And that may be the guide for addressing this situation if ever needed.